Welcome to Aligned to Impact, the podcast where conscious leadership meets bold entrepreneurship. I'm your host, Summer Huntington, and each week we dive deep with founders, innovators, and thought leaders who are rewriting the rules of business from the inside out. Here we talk mindset, brand, content, culture, the real stuff behind building a legacy-driven business that doesn't burn you out. No filters, no fluff, just real conversations that inspire aligned action and intentional impact. If you're a visionary leader ready to create with purpose, grow with integrity, and lead with your heart, you're in the right place. Let's get into it.
Yeah, I don't do ads myself. I teach primarily organic marketing through Instagram primarily. But I will help you with a funnel. Like if you're marketing on Instagram, setting that funnel up and getting people growing your Instagram audience, making sure it's like the right Instagram audience, not just going viral to go viral. And then, that they are converting into your world and programs.
Welcome to Alison McLean. She is the owner of Ignite Your Wellness Business, and she is a physical therapist, yoga teacher, and also business coach for others in the space. Thank you so much for being here, Alison.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
All right, we're going to dive right in. But before we get into the business journey, I'm curious, can you take us back to a defining moment of your life that really shaped how you lead today?
Yeah, so many, but I think it was my own healing journey. There was a time in my early 20s where I was a Division I diver, and that was my identity. And I loved it. I loved my team. I loved practicing the whole thing. And I got injured and I had to have several surgeries on my wrist, and I couldn't dive anymore. And I was really lost. And it was that journey to come back and essentially find myself and trust my body that it could heal. And that led me to becoming, getting many certifications and a health practitioner and doing the work that I do.
So you're really wanting to see other people heal. And so you became a professional in that space.
Yeah. I just remember I felt so lost and hopeless at the time that I never wanted someone else to feel that way. And I was like, you know what? I feel such a strong calling to do this, because I knew when I finally got it and like, for example, I had a surgeon tell me when I was 20 years old, he's like, I tried my best with several surgeries, but don't choose a career with your hands or else you'll have arthritis at 25. Like, this is kind of what you're stuck with. And I just never want someone else to feel that way, because now I actually became a massage therapist at 21 years old. I've been working with my hands for over 20 years. I don't have arthritis. I do handstands. It's all good. So I just want to give, at the time, I just wanted, and I still do, I want to give people hope. If they get like a shock or a devastating diagnosis, or someone they care about or trust, a practitioner tells them something that is hard, maybe they can't change what's happening for them. There are diagnoses and situations where stuff happens, but I do think that there's ways to work through it and heal with it.
Absolutely. I always used to say that the body has an innate ability to heal itself given the right circumstances, like our environment, the physical load, the myofascial work, even the mindset and the somatics piece is pretty huge.
Huge.
So Alison is here in, I think, what she calls her she shed. And I'm just, you guys that are listening won't be able to see it, but people that are watching the YouTube probably can. So she's got this really cool yoga strap behind, it's like a yoga strap wall. She's got a yoga wall. She's got her essential oils all just lined up on a beautiful shelf. It's wood. Tell us about the she shed, because I know this is not something you see every day, and I just want to hear it from you, Alison. Tell us about the she shed.
Yeah, it kind of goes back to that time where I was feeling a little rebellious with that surgeon, and I was like, I'm going to prove him wrong. It's kind of a little bit of my mentality of like figuring it out for myself and doing it my own way. I did have a commercial brick-and-mortar physical therapy, yoga, massage, healing, coaching clinic, and I loved it. It was profitable. It looked great on paper, but I was burnt out. I had a lot of wonderful patients I love to work with. I taught a ton of yoga classes, evenings, mornings, trainings on the weekends, workshops on the weekends, and I was tired. And I got my own scary health diagnosis. I was diagnosed with, at the time, this was several years ago, 2017, with rectal cancer and Lynch syndrome, genetic mutation. And I had another surgeon tell me at the time, I see people with Lynch every 5 to 7 years in my office to, remove another something or other. And I was like, well, I'm changing that. First of all. Second of all, it made me open my mind to, because I did have to have a couple surgeries to work through that how vulnerable my business was. Like if I can't show up physically to do massages or physical therapy or show up to my yoga classes to teach or lead trainings, like my revenue stops completely. And I was like, so I'm going to plan and hope that I'll never get cancer again. And I'm over 7 years. So yeah, I'm beating that one surgeon again. But I still at the same time want to be, let's not be like reckless. Let's be safe with my business. And so I started learning other options on how to continue to help people, but still have it be de-risked in a way. And that was moving into the online space and building online programs, working with people one-to-one online. And so that's how the She Shed came into play, because I realized I actually loved working from home. I have a young daughter. I wanted to be more available and at home for her. And I was like, we're in Southern California, so cost of living is, we want to be smart about it. And I was like, what if I could fortunately, my husband and we purchased our house several years ago. We did all the things to make it happen from our bootstraps. And we have a piece of land. And I was like, how can I build something on there? And so I started researching things, and I found this wonderful company called Outdoor Living. They're based out of Canada, and they build cedar wood she sheds, or I call them she sheds. Yeah, sheds. They're actual, gardening sheds. So there's like a skylight above me, which I have to cover up or else it gets really hot. But they're really beautiful sheds, all types of sizes. And with Southern California, I have a heater and I have a fan, so air conditioner actually, and electricity in here. And I still have some of my patients, 10, 15 years, they've been coming to see me. They come to the shed. Primarily now I do business coaching online, and it's 95% of the work I do these days, but that's how the She Shed evolved, so I can have a business and then be able to roll with my own health challenges if they were to come up again.
I love it. That's so cool. I lived in a tiny home for a lot of years that had the same cedar vibes, and something about being in like fresh cedar, it's a really good energy. Yeah. Yep. Awesome. Well, tell us a little bit about the heart of Ignite Your Wellness. What inspired you to shift from running a traditional clinic to now empowering other wellness professionals through business coaching?
Yeah, so I started getting requests when I had my brick and mortar, like, oh, Alison, how'd you build your practice? Like, I want to do what you want to do. I want to combine yoga and physical therapy and be more holistic. And so I started getting requests back then, and I would kind of mentor people here and there. And then when I moved online, which was prior to the pandemic, people started to get curious, like, oh, what's she doing now? And then the pandemic hit, and people were like, oh, online. Like, I see how, because my business kept going, right? Because I was online. I was essentially prepared for this, going through my own health journey. I was prepared for the pandemic. So I was able to just keep working and pivot quite easily. So then I started getting a lot more requests. And by doing like business coaching and working with my in-person patients, I realized how much I love doing both of them. And eventually I just started getting more and more requests for business coaching. And I transitioned my marketing from the practitioner side, my brick and mortar, to online, and made that my focus. So it just kind of happened organically that way.
That's so cool. Yeah, I definitely hear you there with switching and going right online. And right at the pandemic, that was something that our studio did. But I think it's smart just cutting out the overhead of having a brick and mortar, the payroll expenses, all the hard costs of running a brick and mortar business that people don't think about that really can lead to owner burnout.
100%.
So you do work with people, though, that are in the brick and mortar. Can you tell us a little bit about some of the clients and how you help them to diversify with doing both the online work as well as the brick and mortar work?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I work with like a lot of physical therapists, acupuncturists, who have a busy practice, sometimes multiple six figures, and they're really burnout. I have one practitioner, when she came to me, she was actually thinking of closing her doors, which would have been sad for her because she's really good at what she does and she's so passionate about it. And it would have been sad for her community because they really needed that. She does a lot of women's health, and the moms there, they really needed that. So we turned that around and brought in an online component for her. And she now, a few years later, she's still working with me and her business is thriving and she has a team to support her. She's still primarily brick and mortar. The focus is what my client wants to achieve. I have another brick and mortar practitioner. She's an acupuncturist, for example, and she had a busy practice, but her revenue was different. She was stuck at about 3 to 5K in her brick and mortar, and she was burning out too. And she is also a functional medicine practitioner. So she wanted to do more online. But she was trying to launch it and just not getting people in the door so much. So we restructured her online program and retooled her marketing just a little bit, really subtle changes for her. And, she just hit an 18K months. She's hit 12K months, like consistent 5K months, it's life-changing, that jump. And she has a lot more energy. She only works 3 days a week. And so she's more online now. And actually she's still doing acupuncture. She just has set days and times for that. And that actually fuels her online functional medicine work. So we set up a funnel there for that. So it can be quite diverse depending on the practitioner's goals. I have some people that are 100% online. They come to me and they're like, no, I only want to be online, and they're just starting. So we get their first few clients. So it really depends on where the practitioner is.
Nice. Yeah, the functional medicine space online is growing a ton right now. And I think it's really smart for people that know if you have a functional medicine background to be able to see people online. You can even have phlebotomists come out and collect your blood samples and then send them to the lab.
Oh, totally. Yeah, the mail lab thing is really big. And the nice thing about that, with there's a lot of deliverables and analyzation of reports. You can really structure your program where it doesn't have to be like the let's meet every week model. So you can really free up your time that way. And clients are able to still get support through deliverables and maybe Voxer or Slack coaching or email support. And you don't have to be tied to your laptop on calls every day, all day long. So that's really a nice feature too. And you can really do that. You don't have to be a functional medicine to do that. You can really do that for any kind of health and wellness program. You just have to consider the result that you want your client to achieve at the end, and then work backwards and what's the best way that you can support them. What materials might they need to get there?
Nice. I love it. And you help with funnels and advertising, correct?
Yeah, I don't do ads myself. I teach primarily organic marketing through Instagram primarily. But I will help you with a funnel. Like if you're marketing on Instagram, setting that funnel up and getting people growing your Instagram audience, making sure it's the right Instagram audience, not just going viral to go viral, and then, that they are converting into your world and programs.
Nice. You have a Instagram, I think it's an Instagram Academy offering. Can you tell us a little bit about that and how you help your clients with just optimizing their content on Instagram?
Yeah. It's called the Instagram Message Makeover because I feel a lot of people will feel the nudge to show up on Instagram for right reasons. That if you're a wellness practitioner, Instagram, there's so many clients of your ideal client on Instagram. It really is a great place for wellness practitioners, but they often either a couple of things happen. They start posting, but they don't know what to say or who they're talking to, or they spend hours trying to just create one reel. I had a client when she first came to me, it took her 90 minutes to create one reel. And I was like, oh no, that's way too long. Or they're frozen, right? And they only post once in a while. So we really hone in on the messaging. So all my clients, they know, who they're talking to in a given piece of content, whether it's a reel or a carousel or a story. They know what they're saying, and they know the next step. They know the intention of that piece of content, whether it is to help grow their audience or convert their audience. So we really hone in on those strategies, and we use insights and data a lot to help inform the messaging.
Love it. You are definitely speaking my love language. This is what I do, but for yoga teachers. But I think
Okay, I love it.
I think the messaging is definitely key. Like a lot of times people just don't know how to talk to their ideal client in an empowered way and not just like pain point marketing. Or I find a lot of times people will just like put polarizing content up just for the sake of being polarizing.
Sure,
And then
sure.
it gets a lot of views because people like negative things, but is that really your ideal client?
Right. Yeah. Yeah, no, it is. And it's an art, right? To capturing someone's attention so they stop to scroll, and having a hook that whether it's a written hook or a visual hook that does that for them, right? With having it being aligned for you where it feels right. And sometimes it's a bit of trial and error. Like when I was trying to figure that out and I was like, what? I remember learning hooks. And I was like, my coach would always be like, Alison hook, Alison hook. And I was like, these hooks things, they just don't work for me. And then I was too like poking the bearish. And I was like, that doesn't feel right to me. I don't like these hooks. But eventually I've kind of figured out my vibe and my rhythm. And it really changed my Instagram. Like the last couple of years, my Instagram has really transformed and I get a lot of DMs. I work with a lot of clients from Instagram. So it's really helpful when you can figure it out.
That is awesome. I actually was going to ask you, how did you get good at Instagram content? Because a lot of times with somebody with your, like as many degrees as you have, and you spent so much time in school learning all this stuff, like it's not just second nature for us
No,
to learn Instagram and how to write hooks, right?
it's backwards, right? All our practitioner skills actually sometimes makes us not the greatest marketers because we have so much information that we want to get out, and we end up like another thing my coach would say. So I had to learn, right? I had to pay and learn from coaches and in my own, Instagram courses and masterminds. But one of my coaches, she used to say, Alison, people aren't coming to your social media profile as if they're going to a library or a lecture. And I'm like, okay, noted. So, I don't come from a marketing background. I come from a lot of certifications and learning, and I'm a seeker. And I think a lot of practitioners come from that background too. However, like you see some practitioners blow up. And I think it is. Some of them do come from marketing backgrounds or skill sets that lend to marketing, and or they just have an innate ability to simplify and do that. But you should never use that against yourself because everyone's starting from a different place. And kudos to them. Like for me, it took a while. My goal is to shorten the learning curve for anyone so they don't have to go through again the same struggle I did.
Yeah. How do you help your clients with the emotional piece, or like, because I find so many clients are like, I hate Instagram, I hate social media. Like, how do you help them about the mindset around actually using content as a form of marketing?
Yeah, I think there's a lot with mindset. There is imposter syndrome. There's worries about visibility or being judged or criticized. There's a lot that can happen. And so I think the first step is honoring what's happening for you. And I help my clients kind of through coaching realize actually what is going on. So for example, if they're showing up to a call and we make a plan and we actually like create the content together, so it's like done for them. And they actually have like the hook and the reel and they feel like it's aligned and they're like, okay, I'm going to do it. And then they show up to the next call and they haven't done it. Then we get curious as to like why. Where's the block? What's it coming from? Or if it's still taking hours to create a piece of content, like there might be an element of perfectionism happening, or maybe even people pleasing, wanting to say the right thing. So we figure out why and honor that for the person because, you're a human being. You have a nervous system. It's designed to protect you. It's going to happen like that, it's respecting that process and then working through it, whether it's through somatic processing, and it's also learning how to shift the belief, feel different in your body, and understanding like, okay, well, how would you want to feel instead? Like, what do you want to feel confident when you show up? Do you want to feel inspired for your audience? Do you want to feel in service for your audience? Like, and then we learn how to create a new neural pathway for what they're wanting to achieve instead.
Oh my gosh, I love that so much. That is like, you're speaking my love language. But I think you're right. A lot of folks do struggle with the three P's, like perfectionism, procrastination, people pleasing. All of those things come into play when we're marketing. And I always think like, does it serve you to keep all of your services and your goods? Does it serve you or your client to kind of withhold those?
Sure.
Yeah, but it
100%
doesn't.
no,
Got to
it doesn't.
get out there, get visible.
Yeah, I always say, I tell this story of like, because another area a lot of practitioners, myself included, really struggle is like making the invitation, like at the end of the workshop, or like the call to action at the end of a post or on Instagram to say, like, hey, come work with me. And it is a disservice if you're not making that. I experienced it myself. One time I was working with my own practitioner on my healing journey, and I worked with her for 13 months in a mentorship. And she didn't extend the invitation to work with me again because of her own imposter syndrome. And because I have my own brain and nervous system, was like, oh, she doesn't want to work with me. She doesn't have the time, or maybe I was too needy of a client. So I never said anything. And you know what happened is she's a teacher here in the community. I go to her class. So I kept going to her class. And then she asked me after one class, like, hey, how you doing? And I said, well, I'm kind of still struggling with this or this. And she's like, well, we could have kept working. And I was like, really? And she's like, oh, you didn't know? And I was like, no, I didn't know. And and so then we started working together, but I missed like 3 or 4 months, and that doesn't serve her business, right? Because, that's missed out on revenue, missed out on fulfilling her purpose. And it didn't serve me because I could have kept going, So that was just a huge reminder. It's like, doing this work of marketing and selling, it is a service for your audience. It's not self-promotion. It really isn't.
Yeah, no, it's transformational work to give somebody the tools to be able to run a business profitably and not burn out and scale it, like, and be online. Like, that is such a gift. And I'm excited to hear more about it. So one thing you mentioned actually when you were just touching on that is this idea of, for me, I think in business terms, like that's the client retention piece. Like you have an offer ecosystem where a client can work with you and then they can continue to work with you and they get the invitation. And we all know it's like way easier to keep a client than it is to get a new one. How do you implement the retention strategies for your clients?
Yeah, there's a few different ways. It depends on if it's one-to-one or a group program or a course program, but it's always considering like, if someone comes into your container, what is that result that what's the program promise? What's the transformation that they're working towards there? And then it's always considering, and this is where I think a lot of practitioners might make a mistake, and I did this too, is waiting to the very end of the program to then say, oh, okay, now we can work together and do this. And also kind of putting them on the spot. So for example, if it's a one-to-one, you have a one-to-one program that's three months long, it's like waiting till that 12th session and saying, okay, would you like to carry on this work, and kind of pausing, and, they might not be prepared or ready for it. So I always tell my clients, like, it depends on how long the program is, but at least a couple weeks. For me, I have a longer program. I have a 6-month program. So I start the process sometimes a month, or if I'm fully booked with a wait list, even prior to that, so they can hold their spot. I'll say, I need to know 30 days. If you want to carry on and work it with me, and this is what we would do, X, Y, Z. And we also celebrate the wins and all the progress that they achieved. So that's essentially what I teach my clients as well. So if they have a group program, it's then, maybe setting up an email sequence or a personal reach out system where they can then follow up with clients like a few weeks prior to the program ending, where you're very specific on, hey, let's work together. This is what it's going to look like. This is what we're going to achieve. Here's what I see for you. Because sometimes if they've completed their original goal, they might not even know what their next goal is or their next step is, because they sometimes are so focused on that original goal. But you as a practitioner, you can dream big for them, and you can tell them, like, here's what I see for you. I'd be really excited to work with you on this next thing. And here's what it looked like. And then offer a consult call. I always offer a consult call, especially for higher ticket programs. Like, if you have questions about it, I'm happy to schedule a call outside of our sessions. And clients really love that, because then they don't feel like their time is taken, talking about the next step or working together more in a session.
Absolutely. Well, I come from the background of like movement education and tying yoga in with like many modalities, but I'm curious, do you have any tips for our yoga teachers that might be listening for how to develop an effective program that really serves a client? Because a lot of my listeners might not be physical therapists, so I'm curious for yoga teachers wanting to build programs that are high impact. Any ideas there?
Yeah. So I work with a lot of yoga teachers. I'm a yoga therapist myself. So I think the common thing is in the online space, whether it be YouTube or Instagram, there are a lot of yoga teachers. That's, it's the truth. And there's some really good practitioners online. And you just really want to separate yourself out. And it is possible to do that by thinking of your own yoga and health journey and bringing that into your work and your program. And then you don't have to niche down. But what you do want to be is specific in your messaging, in goals achieved. So you can be broad in what you're offering in your container, but people have to understand why they would want to do yoga with you. Because the truth is, people aren't buying yoga to do yoga. They're doing yoga for a purpose, right? And you have to figure out what that purpose is. Sometimes it's to get leaner and stronger. Sometimes it's to feel more confident. Sometimes it's to just care for oneself. Sometimes it's to restore and reset, right? Or all the things, overcome osteoporosis. So you can have a program that works with many different things or many different people, but you still have to be specific to the outcomes. You can't just say these days, like, come do yoga with me, because then you're in what they would say, the red ocean, with competing with everyone else. But if you're able to tell your story and specific outcomes that they'll achieve or why they should practice with you, then they'll understand how it will positively impact their day to day. And because that's what they care about in the end. Like, how's their life going to change? What's going to be different?
Yeah. I mean, what you're talking about sounds like creating a transformational program that takes them from their current state into a more, whatever that transformed state is.
Whatever it is. Yeah, 100%.
So what's been working really well in your business right now?
That's a good question. For me, workshops and webinars, I still always go back to them. Sometimes it's free, sometimes it's low ticket, anywhere from $7 or $27. The live touch points work well, whether it be a low ticket offer or a mid high ticket offer. So one-to-one still, I love one-to-one still. So I still do that, and group programs, but within my Instagram group program, and I also have a mastermind, I do a lot of high touch. So people feel like they're getting individualized help, because I think people are burnt out of trying to go through a course independently these days, or buying a course and then having it sit in their email gathering dust. So I, provide structure in my programs to help someone actually, move forward and hit progress. So that's really working well for me. Emails are still really working well for me. And Instagram, of course, is working well.
Nice. Well, it sounds like you have all of the things that you practice. You practice what you preach. Yeah. All the things that you're teaching your clients, you are actively doing yourself, which I love. Yeah. Are there any things that you're currently optimizing or things that you want to improve upon in your business?
Yeah, I still work on my own messaging and have my own coaches for that too, and in business. I'm still working on optimizing launching. So it's goes more seamless because there's a lot of tech things in the background. I'm also have brought in a VA, so training her to help me support my community and help me with launching. Yeah, those are some things right off the top of my head. And then, of course, workshops, webinars, selling, that wasn't my strong suit either coming into this world, entrepreneurship, I should say. So I continuously work on that and optimize that as well.
Yes. Yeah, I think for me, I've done so many of the masterclass and webinars that over time you just get to a point where you're like, I just don't feel guilty about pitching an offer. I'm like, people want the offer. They just spend an hour with you. They want your offer.
Totally. Yeah.
So if we were to check back in 6 or 12 months from now, what milestones do you hope to hit personally or professionally?
That's a great question. So personally, I feel really in a really good space. Like I feel like my business allows me both time-wise and financially to live the life I want. I spend a lot of time with family and we take vacations. I'm able to, my parents are getting older, so that is something on my radar, making sure that my business can support if I need to travel to help them or take care for them in certain ways. So that's kind of what I'm preparing for personally in my life. Business wise, yeah, just improving launch goals and filling groups, future groups. That's what I'll be working on.
Amazing. Yeah, I think there's a lot of shifts I'm observing in the online space, but I think the way that people learn has just forever changed. Like we've really gone into this new era of online education, the high proximity coaching. Like I think it's a really ripe time for what you're doing.
Yeah.
So looking ahead, what do you believe will be the most important skills for wellness professionals and therapists to master in order to remain relevant and fulfilled in this profession in the next 5 to 10 years?
Yeah, I mean, keep learning. I know all of you are seekers and certification junkies. Keep learning, but you need to make all that information relevant for your people. So meet them where they're at within sessions. So information is digestible and implementable. So they do hit their goals. Same with the marketing. Like you just have to speak to them in their language, which is sometimes really hard to do when you have multiple certifications. But I think that combination of doing it both in your sessions and in your marketing can make a great impact in the work that you're
awesome.
doing.
And where can our listeners connect with you and learn more about your coaching?
Ignite Your Wellness Business. So that it's the website or on Instagram, and it's a UR. So it's Ignite UR Wellness Business.
Awesome. And for someone that's listening who's feeling called to reinvent their business or step into wellness entrepreneurship, what's one small action they can take this week to move forward with more clarity and intention?
Yeah, it's just thinking if you want to write an email or make that next post or create a course or a workshop, it's really sitting down and thinking about two things. What do you hear most frequently from the people that you want to help? Like, what are they telling you? And what really lights you up to talk about? And then if you combine those two, then that can be your messaging, that can be your course, that can be your email. So it's just, those two things, because you already know it. You just have to get it out.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much, Alison, for taking time to be on Aligned Impact podcast. It's been a pleasure having you.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of Aligned Impact. I'm truly grateful to have you here in this growing community of leaders, innovators, and conscious change makers. Check the show notes for all the links and resources we mentioned today, and you can explore more of my work and programs over at FlowShala.com or connect with me on social media at Summer Huntington and YouTube as well for behind the scenes movement inspiration and business tips. Stay tuned for more episodes of Aligned Impact that inspire you to lead with intention, get empowered, and create aligned impact in your life and your community.